Arkansas State takes down Troy again. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by the new Ibotta app. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 for just trying the Ibotta app by using code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE when you register. All right, plenty of college basketball to talk about. We'll get to the Red Wolves and the Trojans here momentarily. We did have the good, the bad, and the ugly in Sunbelt basketball on Thursday night. Arkansas State and Troy was outstanding. South Alabama played really well, although it got ugly with Southern Miss. And I don't know what the Cajuns and ULM did. Kudos to ULM for winning that ball game. But when we go down the statistics, I'm going to try and figure out how they did it because I don't know how they did it. There was an ugly basketball game. And this actually came out Wednesday night. Dell McGee reports from Georgia. From Graham Coffey, editor of DogCentral.com, he reported that running backs coach Dell McGee is expected to be the new Georgia State head coach. Nothing came out on Thursday about that. We'll find out if anything comes out. We'll do something when they officially announce it, but they did not do it on Thursday. But we'll talk about that later on. All right, let's talk about Arkansas State and Troy. This game was actually, we had some games. We had ODU and App State on the East Coast. So that started at 6, and that game moved so fast in the first half. The 7 o'clock game, which was South Alabama, hadn't even started yet. All right. Cajuns didn't start until 7:30, and then you had Arkansas State and Troy starting at 8. And Arkansas State with a crowd of over 5,000. The bottom of the bowl was completely full. It looked spectacular on ESPNU. And Arkansas State responded. They jumped out, if you want to call it 16 minutes or so, jumping out to a 38-19 lead. They led by 19 points with 4 minutes left to go in the first half. Now, very different ball game than they had against Troy in Troy earlier on in the season, where Troy was leading for about 30 minutes of that game, maybe even like 33 minutes of the game. And they completely got flustered at the end. They couldn't stop Arkansas State. They couldn't score, getting foolish technicals, and they got flustered. In this one, they didn't get flustered, and they came back. Troy goes on a 9-1 run to change an 18-point game to an 11-point game. Still probably not where they wanted it, but a good basketball game nonetheless. And then they closed the gap. It took them a little bit of time. They finally took the lead. Troy did with about 3 minutes left to go, but that was about it. Arkansas State didn't fold. They were not playing great offense, by the way, at the end. There was a whole lot of standing around and doing nothing and getting double teamed and turning the ball over. I did not like what I saw offensively at the end, although Caleb Fields, he found somebody in the corner. That was a huge three. Let me see who made the three it was Avery Felts that made the three. And I don't think they gave up the lead again. Oh, they did. They got it tied, but they never trailed again. So they're actually trailing on a Miles Rigsby layup. Troy takes a 66-65 lead, and Felts makes a 3-point jumper. I guess Todd gave him the three. Gave him the assist, and Arkansas State never trailed after that. But a couple of big plays in there. Muhammad hits a couple of free throws. By the way, Conneray was ridiculous. I mean, like throwing up shots behind his head and going in. He was fantastic. And this was just a fun ball game. I mean, for when you're playing this kind of ball game with that kind of crowd, and it took about 8 minutes for it to become less than a 10-point ball game, and then it's close for the rest of the game. And so that's a lot of fun. The fans are into it. Arkansas State is into it. Troy is into it. And it was a really good college basketball game, especially in the second half, and especially if you're an Arkansas State fan. But it was a 68 ball game. And then Taryn Todd made a couple of free throws. They missed a dunk. And then I thought there was Freddie Hicks made a dunk. Troy missed a dunk. Freddie Hicks made a dunk. Slammed it. Thought that was going to be it, but they just wouldn't go away. They actually had built a 6-point lead, but Mohammed makes a 3-pointer, making it 74-71. But eventually Arkansas State hangs on. Nelson had a huge block as well. And then there may have been a intentional foul called, maybe not. But Arkansas State wins 79-71, a great basketball game that was a lot of fun to watch, and I got to it after the other games ended. You had 6 players for Arkansas State in double figures. You had 5 players for Troy in double figures. And now Arkansas State is tied with the Cajuns for 4th. So here, this gets a little strange because this is going to make my head hurt, okay? The Troy still has a couple of game lead over Arkansas State, but Arkansas State has swept Troy. So if they finish in a tie, they win it. The thing is, the Cajuns swept Arkansas State. So I'm going to have to figure out on what happens if the teams, are in a 3-way tie. Troy still comes to play UL next week, and that's got huge repercussions on it. We'll get to the Cajuns here. That was just ugly. We'll get to that. So Arkansas State is fighting their way into a top 4 seed. And as the announcers, I'm not sure. I saw the names. I didn't know the announcers. They made a point that Arkansas State could trip up some teams at the Sun Belt Conference tournament. That's, they shoot those threes. They're big on that. Right, Brian Hodgson out of the Nate Oates School. We're going to shoot threes. And they get hot from there. They're going to be tough to stop. All right. Quickly, let's do the App State ODU game. Really impressed with App State. I'm actually impressed with ODU for about 30 minutes or so, 35 minutes or so. They gave App State all they could handle. App State kept on trying to pull away, and ODU responded, took a lead in the first half, had a lead in the second half. But on the road, App State did not get flustered. They were down 56-53, and, they finished the game on a rout. Was it like 83? I had it here. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. 82-67. So they were down 56-53, and they're down 3, but they win by 15. So I have to say I was impressed by ODU. They wouldn't go away till the end when App State couldn't start to miss, but they gave it all they had for a good bit of that ball game. So I was impressed with that. App State still has, with Troy losing, their magic number is still 2, I guess, because if JMU and App State both win on Saturday, then JMU can still win both their final ball games, and App State can lose their final 2 ball games, and JMU would jump App State. All right. Now, App State's, as we mentioned in the other situation, App State has swept JMU, so they can. They still have to win 2 more ball games, or JMU's going to have to lose 1. So their magic number is 2 technically. So good job by App State. They are looking at the regular season crown, and we'll see if JMU, they're playing games on the road. So we shall see if that happens. All right. We'll do the rest of the basketball coming up. Cajuns in an ugly ball game fall to ULM. Listen to some of these stats when we come back. And I will tell you a new sponsor here, the Ibotta app on Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Grocery bills are so expensive these days, But now they don't have to be. Start getting cash back on your grocery shopping with the free Ibotta app and get cash back every time you shop. Ibotta is a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items, from groceries to beauty supplies to toys. So you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, just add your offers in the app, upload your receipt, and get real cash that you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. Join the over 50 million users and earn cash back every time you shop from over 2,700 brands and retailers, including Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 for just trying Ibotta app using the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I was thinking about it. I was going to screw that up, but I didn't do it. All right, Cajuns with a tough loss. ULM with, I'm all about the win and move on, but there was nothing pretty about this ballgame. ULM wins 66-59. ULM pulled away. Cajuns actually were down. It wasn't much at halftime, 32-30. The Cajuns were trailing 38-37 and missed not one layup, but two layups. And then ULM goes on a 10-0 run, and the Cajuns got as close as 3, but never had the ball to tie or to take the lead after that. The free throws combined by these two teams were awful. The Cajuns hit 7 of 16 free throws. Hosanna Kintinge, who's been really good this year at shooting free throws, personally was 4 of 12. ULM had a bunch of free throws, but they missed 10 as well. Like, if somehow the Cajuns won this one by 3 or 4 points, ULM's shooting free throw missing 10 would have been an issue. ULM shot 43% to the Cajuns 37. Cajuns shot 65 field goal attempts. ULM 49. I don't know how you lose a ball game where you're shooting 26 more shots. 26 more shots. They both made 4 3-pointers. Cajuns were 4 of 22, 1 of 15 in the second half, by the way, trying to come back. ULM 4 of 14. Turnovers were a big problem for the Cajuns. ULM was trying to give the game back to them, 14. ULM was trying to give the game back to them. Cajuns had 15 turnovers and just some really bad turnovers. A couple of them on fast breaks or driving in the hoop, just bad turnovers. They out-rebounded ULM, 41-37. Bench points, 16-10. Paint points, 40-22. Second chance points, 12-4. I don't know how the Cajuns lost this basketball game. I'm sure some will point to the free throws. But that's not how they lost the game. They didn't make their free throws. If the Cajuns made their free throws, they would have won the basketball game. But they didn't. They missed a couple of one-on-ones. They missed some and-ones. They missed their free throws. You can't complain about the other team shooting more free throws when you miss your free throws. Hit 13 of 16, and then maybe we have a game. Then you got a situation. But you can't miss like 41 field goal attempts, 9 of your 7 free throws, and then complain that the other team shot a few more free throws. That's not going to work. All right. The Cajuns got off to a slow start. Then they started to play well. And then ULM played well towards the end of the first half. And the Cajuns it was just an ugly basketball game. I tweeted out, again, I'm all about the win and move on. But ULM played less bad than the Cajuns. I gave you the stats. Not really, but that's, they won the ball game, so they had to play a little less bad. All right. Just an ugly ball game, and now the Cajuns have no room for error when it comes to top 4 seed, because they're tied with Arkansas State they can't, they swept Arkansas State, but now they have the same record as Arkansas State, so there's no game in between. All right, so they win the tiebreaker over the Red Wolves, but they don't have that game in between. So it was just an ugly ball game by the Cajuns, and a good job by ULM. They had 3 guys in double figures. Cajuns had 3 guys in double figures, except Hardy actually had a nice game for the Cajuns. He actually kept them in it. Brandon Hardy, a couple of freshman mistakes, but he actually played okay. But Themis Folks 0 for 2 and no points, and Michael Thomas 1 of 5 and 3 points. That's the point guards. No, not good. ULM played well enough to win. I say less bad, but it was the case. All right. South Alabama goes into this game was ugly. This game got ugly on Southern Miss's side. South Alabama beat Southern Miss 83-64. Southern Miss did not lead in this game. That is shocking. It's not so shocking that they lost, although that's surprising. It's shocking that they lost 83-64. They got blown out. They did get some good news and some bad news. Andre Curbelo came back for a little bit, very little. Took himself out with 2 minutes to go. He did have some glasses on. I guess they were shaded. He's still coming back from a concussion, but he only played a couple of minutes in the first half and laid down behind the bench. And then turned it over, and he was back in the ball game in the second half and got called for a technical. Cajuns were shooting a free throw. Crowley was called for, I think Isaiah Gator was shooting the free throws. Then he missed the actual free throws that he was when he got fouled. And then Crowley got called for a technical. And then Curbelo got called for another technical, and he was tossed from the game. And then you had stuff being thrown on the court, like ice. That's really ugly. Southern Miss was frustrated. They got to them. Southern Miss doesn't lose at home much. I guess ULM just beat them. But they are all right. They struggled here tonight, and that's a nice win by South Alabama. They may have found something. Tabe is very different than Isaiah Moore. He's like a 6'3" post player. And Isaiah Moore was doing that, but he could finish at the rim a little bit better. Tabe seems to do, and he does more floaters. Tabe seems to step back and shoot it. And all of a sudden, he was coming off a 35-point game, and he had a 29-point game. So maybe they are starting to find something. Gator had 17 points. He's coming back. They were South Alabama played pretty well last night, trying to avoid the final, the bottom 4. They did that last year and made it all the way to the championship game. The Cajuns beat them. Elsewhere, Georgia Southern with a big win, 84-76, also trying to avoid the bottom 4. That's a nice win for the Eagles that have not played all that well as of late. So let's check the standings now. Remember, we had some ball games last night, or 2 nights ago, as the case may be. So App State leads James Madison by 1. All right. Troy, with their loss to Arkansas State, basically eliminated, although not quite, from winning, right? They could win their final 3, and the other 2 could lose their 3, but basically eliminated. It'd be tough to see if those 2 teams lose that much. So App State's leading James Madison by 1. Troy is in a third they got a little bit of breathing room because the Cajuns lost. Cajuns are going to Southern Miss, and then they're hosting Troy. We'll see where everything is when that happens. So Troy is third. They do have a 2-game cushion over the Cajuns, and they beat the Cajuns once this year. It'll be important for the Cajuns to get a split there. Arkansas State is now tied for 4th. They're 9-6 with the Cajuns. Cajuns did sweep Arkansas State. Southern Miss 8-7. It faded, maybe run out of gas. I don't know. By the way, Hart was in the lineup as well. And it's got to be the first time since 2024 that Curbelo and Hart have been in the same line and been in the starting lineup together. Georgia State and Marshall both 7-8. South Alabama 6-9. Monroe 6-9, and Georgia 6-9. So all those teams that were 5-9, they actually all won. Marshall is the only team, and Southern Miss. Well, that's not in that spot. So Georgia Southern won, UL Monroe won, and South Alabama won. And now you got Georgia State and Marshall just one game ahead of them for that final spot. Coastal's 5-10, Texas State is 4-11, and Old Dominion is 2-13. So although Coastal is just a game out, it's going to be tough for that to happen to avoid that. And we'll see what South Alabama can do. And Monroe, all right, they're playing well, and Georgia Southern comes away with a win as well. All right, let's take a timeout. Went a little bit long there. It appears that Georgia State has their new head football coach. We'll talk about Dell McGee next. Let me tell you about FanDuel. Whoops. I hit the wrong button first. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Pelicans with a nice win on Thursday over the Rockets. They're 5.5 out. I'd be surprised if they could finish any higher than fourth. And other than home court advantage, there's not a big difference between fourth and fifth. That's the opponent you'll be playing in the playoffs in the first round. It'd be nice if somehow they could play Minnesota, but Minnesota is in first right now. I would have rather avoid Oklahoma City, the Clippers, and one more. Who's the other team? The Nuggets. No. Right. Yeah. Don't want to play the Nuggets if you're the Pelicans. It'd be nice if it was Minnesota. We'll see. All right. They were off to a good start. Ingram didn't play, and yet they still, took control at the end of the first half and blew out the Rockets at the in the second half. So we shall see. They've actually won a bunch of ball games overall in a row. So they're playing some good basketball. We'll see if they can carry it for the next basically 2 months. All right. Meanwhile, we did have Ben Moore on earlier in the week discussing the Georgia State coaching job. Ben Moore, 24/7 Sports, GSUPantherTalk.com. And he thought, and he got back to me throughout the week that, by the end of the week, they'll have a coach. Well, I think Monday was day 5 when the coaching search was. Tuesday was 6. Wednesday would have been a week since they didn't have a coach, but it did come out Wednesday after I recorded, obviously. And the report is that Dell McGee, who has a long history of coaching in Georgia and in that area, is the guy. He is the running backs coach for Georgia. He's done pretty well in that position. He was a Harris County high school DBs coach where he first started. Greenville, Georgia, high school defensive coordinator. Carver, Columbus, Georgia high school head coach. Then jumped to Auburn in 2013. Ended up with Georgia Southern as the running backs coach and was the interim for a little bit at 2015. Actually won a ball game. Then he ended up at Georgia, running backs coach, and then assistant head coach. And since 2019, he's been the run game coordinator and running backs coach. All right. And some of the ones he's coached has been pretty good. Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, DeAndre Swift, Elijah Holyfield. So he's had some really good football players 1,000-yard rushers. Those were all 1,000 yards, plus James Cook and Zamir White. So the big thing here is you got to do the recruiting. And again, I'm one that maybe doesn't understand why people in the South, like, you got to understand the South. Like, they didn't like people did not like the Brian Harsin thing. I'll admit I did. All right. I was wrong. Clearly. But I've been in Miami where coaches are not recruiting Miami, Broward, and Palm Beach. Don't get it. I know when Kane Womack was very big at South Alabama, he wanted to recruit Mobile. There is a ton of talent in Mobile. You may not get the talent that's headed to Georgia or LSU or Auburn or Alabama, but you can get the talent that you don't want to be going to Troy. You don't want to be going to Southern Miss. You want to take the talent there. So just like that situation, if you can get Dell McGee, who you know is knee-deep in recruiting in Georgia and has those high school contacts from Georgia, you're not going to get the guys that are going to Georgia. It's not going to happen. All right. You may not even get the guys that are going to Georgia State. You got to get the guys that are thinking about going to Georgia Southern. You got to get the guys that may be thinking about going to App State or maybe Coastal or maybe the Cajuns or South Alabama. There is a ton of not only in the talent, not only in the Atlanta area, but the surrounding area. The entire state is loaded with high school football talent that could, turn. I don't want to turn things around. All right. I mean, Sean Elliott did a pretty good job, just didn't do a great job at Georgia State. Kept on going to bowl games, kept on winning them, but never could take that next step, that 10-win, 11-win season. Never could do that, right? And so you can do with the portal the way it is and recruiting. You give Dell McGee a couple of years where, I mean, he's not even going to get a class this year, right? That's doesn't even have to worry about it. Next year's class, and then the year after's class, right? So if he's getting guys that are starting school he's going to have the class that he has now, whatever that may be. So see what the kids do in 24 and the kids that they bring in 25 and see what they're doing in 26. Because with the portal, you can get good fast. And if this guy is knee-deep in high school recruiting in Georgia, it can move quickly. Like his former colleague there, Fran Brown. I mean, go look where Syracuse is recruiting. Like, I don't think Dino Babers had a top 50 class in his 8 years of being at Syracuse. And Fran Brown has a top 50 class. It's outrageous. We don't know what we're watching. We don't understand it. And I'm not sure that Georgia State can have a top 50 class, but, top 70 class, top 80 class. Let's just do that quickly. Let's just see where the Sun Belt was last year. All right, just for the talk of it. All right, because we're already on 25, but let's see where 24 is. All right, and let's see who ranks in the Sun Belt. Okay, and then we got to find out where they are overall. All right, let me see if we got overall here. Overall, all right. In the Sun Belt. See if we got the numbers. I want the rankings. No, they don't. No, they don't rank them overall. Okay, so I want to do all. Let's see. Yeah, all right. So let's see if we can find Syracuse. By the way, 34. That's insane to me. That just doesn't make any sense. Trying to find the first Sun Belt team. Like Tulane is 66. Charlotte is 75. I'm still not seeing. Texas State is 82. Marshall 83. Here they come. So this is the class of 2024, and this is everybody. This is all of the recruits, transfer portal, and high school kids. For example, North Texas has 49 kids coming in. Texas State, 33 kids. They're 82. Marshall, 83. Southern Miss 84, JMU 86, Coastal 87. Let's see where Georgia State is. They didn't make the top 100. Georgia Southern is 98. Still looking. Old Dominion 124. Did I miss them? Maybe I missed them. I didn't think there were this many teams. I had to miss them. Where'd they go? I had to miss them. Arkansas State, South Alabama, Georgia Southern. Were they up higher? Oh, Georgia State 121. All right. Yeah. I don't think there's like 130 FBS schools, and they're 121. So, like my Orange were 70 or 80. Now they're in the 30s. Can Dell McGee get Georgia State right where those other Sun Belt teams are? And if you get ahead of them in the top 80, right, then you're ahead of them. That's where you got to be. Yeah, that's not a good recruiting class for Georgia State. So we'll find he's going to get there, and we'll wait. Well, he should be announced, I presume, sometime today. And he's going to check out the portal. He's going to have a shot at the portal and bring some guys in. So we'll see how that goes. All right. All right. You know what? 1 week I didn't do it. I'm going to do it on Saturday. I'm going to preview the college basketball on Saturday. Cajuns are playing baseball at 2:00, but I will do a preview of the college basketball games. We'll post one early Saturday morning. You got to give me a chance to get up. Maybe I'll do it Friday night, but we'll do one Saturday morning because I did not do one last week, and I should have. So tough to do it all, reviewing and previewing. So, and then of course we'll talk about baseball from the weekend as well. So please, everyone have a great weekend. We'll just do a quick one segment preview of the Saturday basketball games because there's a lot on the line. Top 4, regular season champ, bottom 4. So there's a lot to do here with just 3 games left to go. Appreciate all the support. We've had some good episodes, and I appreciate all the views. Trying to figure out TikTok for this old guy, and Instagram, and posting the videos, and on Facebook Reels and stuff like that. So I do appreciate all the support. We're getting close to 1,140 subscribers, so that is a big help. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. Make it a safe one. We'll talk to you again, hopefully on Saturday, if not on a Monday. You've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day.